And good evening to you. Welcome to our midweek Bible study. Thanks for being a part of it. What a beautiful day we've had. Nice and cool in the 40s this morning. Great sunshine up into the low 70s this afternoon. What a beautiful day God's given us. And I trust you've gathered and you're ready for the Bible study this evening. Hey, as we begin, let me give you just one piece of information. We'll say more about it on Sunday. We'll be making some adjustments to our Wednesday Bible study in the month of October. We'll be saying a word about that on Sunday, so be sure and be in your place so you can have the good information that you need. So please keep that in mind. But we're glad you're here tonight. We're continuing looking at Exodus 34, verse 6. There's those 5 characteristics of God. Tonight, we'll be doing the 3rd one. Then we'll finish up with the 4th one. We did the 5th one earlier. But I trust this has been insightful. Maybe even through the course of it, you've been able to begin to commit this verse to memory. It gives you 5 great characteristics of God. Tonight, we come to the one long-suffering. What does it mean when we say God is long-suffering? Now, you're going to find, I believe, the word study very enlightening on this. And then, of course, you have your discussion prompts at the end. But we're looking forward to a great time. So let's get into our video. And then as we finish up, I'll also try to remember say a word at the end of the video before you go into your study. But lest I do be in prayer for those in Florida. There are a lot are being impacted by this hurricane. Pray for their safety. Pray for the churches down there that they'll have an opportunity to minister. And let's get into our study. Tonight, we're looking at long suffering. We're going to see what the Bible has to say about it. And I smile a little bit because I have seen the video, so I'm aware of it. And so it does bring a little smile to my face. But I trust that you will find it insightful as we look into this evening. God is long suffering. What does that mean?
If you tried to describe what God is like, it could be difficult or daunting. But when the people who wrote the Bible pondered the mystery of God, they consistently describe God's character in this way: compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, overflowing with loyal love and faithfulness. We're going to look at this 3rd phrase, that God is slow to anger. Now, that might surprise some people. Isn't the God of the Bible mostly angry, striking people down for their sins? Well, it turns out that God's anger in the Bible is way more nuanced than that, and way more interesting. In Hebrew, the phrase slow to anger is pronounced erek apayim, or literally long of nose. But what does God's patience have to do with a long nose? Well, first, we need to look at the common biblical Hebrew way to say that someone is angry: their nose burned hot. Like in the story of Joseph, when Potiphar thinks that Joseph tried to sleep with his wife, his nose burned hot. It's usually translated, his anger burned. It's describing how your body, especially your face, gets hot when you're filled with anger. And so in Hebrew, the main words for anger are either nose or heat or hot nose. This is why a patient person is called long of nose. It takes a long time for their nose to get hot. Like in the biblical proverb, a person's wisdom is their long nose. That is, their slow anger. Now, in the Bible, God gets angry numerous times, but God doesn't have a nose or get hot. These are metaphors, using our experience of hot anger to describe how God feels when he witnesses human evil. Just like you would get angry if you saw a child being bullied on the playground, so God gets angry when humans oppress each other and ruin his world. In the Bible, God's anger is an expression of his justice and his love for the world. But he's slow to anger, which means he gives people lots of time to change. Like in the story of the Exodus, when Pharaoh enslaves the Israelites and has their baby boys thrown into the waters. God sends Moses to confront Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's given 10 chances to let Israel go free, but after the 10th refusal, Pharaoh rides out with his chariots to destroy the Israelites, and so God destroys him in the waters. Pharaoh's own evil is turned back upon him, and we read that this is an act of God's hot anger. Now, that's really intense, but think about it. God wouldn't be good if he didn't get angry at Pharaoh's evil and eventually do something about it. And notice that God's anger is expressed by handing Pharaoh over to the consequences of his own decisions. And this is actually how God's anger is shown throughout the scriptures, like in the story of the Israelites. Over and over again, for hundreds of years, they betray the God who rescued them from slavery. And though he gives them many chances to turn around, they keep giving their allegiance to the gods of other nations. And each time we read that the hot anger of God burned against the Israelites. But notice what always follows. God gave them over into the hands of their enemies. Israel wanted to serve the gods of other nations, and so God, in his just anger, gives them what they want, as those nations circle back and defeat Israel. This is similar to what the Apostle Paul says in his letter to the Romans. He says God's anger is being revealed against human evil, and then 3 times he says what that looks like. God hands people over to their destructive desires and decisions, even if it leads to death. But Paul also says God is patient, giving people time to come to their senses and change. Because remember, God's anger is a response to human evil, and it's based on a deeper character trait, his compassion and his loyal love. God is not content to let people sit in their own self-destruction. In the Bible, God's on a mission to rescue. This is why Jesus said that he was going to Jerusalem to die, as a demonstration of God's love for his enemies. He would stand in the place of his people who were choosing self-destruction and take the consequences of their decisions upon himself. In Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, we see God's anger at evil and his love for people working together to provide forgiveness and life for a humanity lost in self-ruin. So God's anger in the Bible is really important, but it's not the end of the story. When God is angry and brings justice, it's because he's good. And he's extremely patient, working out his plan to restore people to his love. And that's what it means to say that God is slow to anger.
All right. Let me get back to you here. And isn't that a good study? Isn't that good information about it? Long of nose. That's what the slow to anger means. It's a great concept. So I trust that gives you something that will help you in your discussion time. And I trust that it will be something that as you talk about it, it'll give you a greater understanding of why sometimes God is seemingly slow in his judgment of wrong, but also why judgment does come. So it'll be a good discussion for you. You've got your discussion prompts there. I believe there are 4 of them tonight. So enjoy your time together. Have your discussion. Have a time of prayer. Pray for the church. Pray for Sunday. I want to see you in church on Sunday. Make sure you're in your place. And we'll be saying some things on Sunday about the month of October and our midweek Bible study. So please keep that in mind. We'll look forward to seeing you Sunday, the first Sunday of October. Can you believe that? We'll see you there. We love you. Thanks for joining us tonight.